Chapter 5. The Constant Creation of the Physical Body. As mentioned, the conscious mind is a portion of the inner self, that part that surfaces, so to speak, and meets physical reality more or less directly. You are mainly concerned now with physical orientation and the corporeal materialization of inner reality. Therefore, the conscious mind holds in ready access the information that you require for effective day-to-day living. It is not necessary that you hold in steady consciousness data that does not directly apply to what you consider your physical reality at any given quote-unquote time. As soon as the need for such data, aid, information, or knowledge arises, then it is immediately forthcoming unless your own conscious beliefs cause a barrier. The exquisite, precise, and concentrated focus of your conscious mind is quite necessary in physical life. It is because of this highly selective quality that you can quote-unquote tune into the particular range of activity that is physical. In their own way, animals also possess this selective consciousness. They also focus their attention in very specific directions, perceiving from a vast general field of perception stimuli that is quote-unquote recognized and accepted in an organized manner. Now, the animals' conscious minds, connected with their physical brains, makes this necessary selectivity possible. Without it, there would be an quote-unquote out-of-focus effect that would make physical survival impossible, so certain portions of the inner self come to the foreground of being. Because your mind in life is connected with the brain and the physical organism, it is automatically attuned to corporeal reality, and to some extent, of course, it ignores some non-physical data that lies within any given field of perception. Quite simply, it does not allow it into the organizing perceptions. It is then blocked out. Again, this is quite necessary. There is some information and data that does not quote-unquote apply to physical reality. Some of it is perceived by quote-unquote non-physical entities who organize it into their system of reality, where it does have meaning, but we will not be concerned with it here. While you are physical then, you will always be concentrating upon certain data to the exclusion of other data. In other kinds of realities, you may ignore the physical system entirely, however, focusing instead upon those systems of existence that are not now recognized within your own. In your present life, the conscious mind assesses physical reality and has behind it all the energy, power, and ability of the inner self at its disposal. Any information that it requires will be available. Its job is to assess that reality effectively, using that fine focus mentioned earlier. Because of its character, consciousness, or the conscious mind, cannot be swamped by too much detail, too much information. The inner self sends to it only the information it asks for or feels necessary. To a very large extent, then, conscious beliefs act as great liberators of such inner data, or as inhibitors of it. The conscious mind is itself developing and expanding. It is not a thing. It learns through experience and through the effects of its behavior. The inner self brings about whatever results the conscious mind desires. It does not leave the conscious mind at loose ends nor isolate it from the fountains of its own being. Because the conscious mind is part of the inner self, it is obviously made of the same energy, filled with the same vitality, and revitalized by the deep sources of creativity from which all being emerges. You must understand that it is not cut off from the inner self. The inner self keeps the physical body alive, even as it formed it. The miraculous constant translation of spirit into flesh is carried on with inexhaustible energy by these inner portions of being, but in all cases, the inner self looks to the conscious mind for its assessment of the body's condition and reality, and forms the image in line with the conscious mind's beliefs. So, once more, you form reality through your beliefs, and your most intimate production is your physical body. Your beliefs about it are constantly fed into inner data. You organize on an unconscious level the atoms and molecules that compose your cells to form your body. But the blueprint is made by your conscious beliefs. To change your body, you change your beliefs, even in the face of physical data or evidence that conflicts. You each have a body, and you each have a consciousness. You can practice with these ideas by applying them to your body. For now, we are taking into consideration the fact that, generally speaking, you are not going to make yourself 5 physical feet taller if you are a grown adult already, because there are certain physical laws with which you must contend. We will discuss those more fully later. In that context, you can even appear taller and affect others as if you were, which would usually be what you wanted in any case under the circumstances. But except for some conditions which will be mentioned later, you can become healthy if you are ill, slim if you are overweight, gain weight if you prefer, or alter your physical image in profound fashion through the use of your ideas and beliefs. They form the blueprint by which you make your body, whether you have known this or not. Your body is an artistic creation, formed and constantly maintained at unconscious levels, but quite in line with your beliefs about what and who you are. Now, you constantly give yourself suggestions about your body, your health, or ill health. You think about your body often then. You send a barrage of beliefs and instructions to the inner self that affect your physical image. As I mentioned earlier, your thoughts have a very definite vital reality. Beliefs are thoughts reinforced by imagination and emotion concerning the nature of your reality. Now, thoughts in general possess an electromagnetic reality, but whether you know it or not, they also have an inner sound value. You know the importance of exterior sound. It is used as a method of communication, and it is also a byproduct of many other events, and it affects the physical atmosphere. Now the same is true about what I will call inner sound, the sound of your thoughts within your own head. I am not speaking here of body noises, though you are usually oblivious to these also. Inner sounds have an even greater effect than exterior ones upon your body. They affect the atoms and molecules that compose your cells. In many respects, it is true to say that you speak your body, but the speaking is interior. The same kind of sound built the pyramids, and it was not sound that you would hear with your physical ears. Such inner sound forms your bone and flesh. The sound exists connected with, but quite apart from, the mental words you use in thinking. It does not matter in which language you are addressing yourself, for example. The sound is formed by your intent, and the same intent, I'm putting this simply now, will have the same sound effect upon the body, regardless of the words used. But usually you think in your own language, and so in quite practical terms, the words and the intent merge. For all practical purposes then, the two are one. When you say, "I am tired," mentally, you are not only giving silent messages to yourself. I say messages rather than message, because the general statement is broken down. Many portions of the body must be affected before you feel tired. But beside this, the inner sound value of the messages automatically affects the body in just that way. What should you do then if you find yourself feeling tired? This is your conscious assessment of your body's reality at a given time. You want to change it so that you do not reinforce it. Instead, you say mentally that the body can now begin to rest and refresh itself. You take your initial judgment for granted then without restating it, and instead suggest the remedy be carried out. You can, if the conditions warrant, physically rest by lying down, or make whatever adjustments seem appropriate. If none are possible, then several such suggestions, that the body can refresh itself, will give you benefit. To tell yourself over and over that you are tired, however, reinforces the condition. The inner sound value of the countering suggestion automatically begins to refresh the body. It is fashionable now to think about noise pollution, yet the same kind of circumstances occur with inner sound, particularly when your inner thoughts are self-contradictory, scrambled, and random. Diverse and highly conflicting instructions are then given to the body. As you should know, the body's inner environment changes constantly, and it is you who change it. Change is quite necessary, and as a rule, the body's overall balance is maintained. But the directions that you give are often not clear or advantageous, and your beliefs largely determine the kind of information you send to that environment. The inner self always attempts to maintain the body's equilibrium and health, but many times your own beliefs prevent it from coming to your aid with even half of the energy available to it. Often, only when you are in dire straits do you open up the doors to this great energy, when it is much too clear that your previous beliefs and behavior have not worked. You have at your disposal the means to ensure your health. My friend Joseph brought up a point concerning this before our session. He wanted to know why so many in this country wore glasses. He wondered if people unacquainted with glasses and suddenly introduced to them would develop a need for them. And they would. Many individuals are given glasses to correct an eye difficulty at an early age. Left alone, in many cases, the eyes would correct themselves. The glasses can impede any such self-correction by providing a crutch that further weakens eye muscles, for example, and instead fixes the condition. When you believe that only glasses will correct poor vision, then only glasses will. Instead, you must discover the reason for the belief behind the physical poor function or non-function, and if this is done, the condition will automatically clear up. Now, for most people, it is easier to get glasses. To be healthy, you must believe in health. A good physician is a changer of beliefs. He will replace an idea of illness with one of health. Whatever methods or drugs he uses will not be effective unless this change of belief takes place. Unfortunately, when man became a labeler, he also made maps, so to speak, of great complexity, categorizing various diseases with greater effectiveness than ever before. He studied dead tissue to discover the nature of the disease that killed it. Physicians began to think of men as carriers of disease and diseases, which in certain terms they, the physicians, did themselves create through some new medical procedures. The old medicine men often dealt far more directly with the patient himself and understood the nature of beliefs and the prime importance of suggestion. Many of their techniques were adopted for their psychological shock value, in which the patient was quite effectively, quote-unquote, brainwashed out of the disease he believed that he had. The present medical profession is sadly hampered because of its own beliefs. Often it operates as a framework in which poor health and disease are not only accepted as normal, but the concepts behind them strengthened. Here you have, again, as in psychoanalysis, a hide-and-seek arrangement in which both doctor and patient take part. Both believe they need the other, of course. Behind this is the psychic pattern of beliefs in which the patient often assigns to the doctor the powers of knowledge and wisdom that his beliefs have taught him he does not have. Knowing otherwise, the patient still wants to consider the doctor omnipotent. Upon the patient, a doctor often assigns and projects his own feelings of helplessness against which he combats. The interactions continue with the patient trying to please the doctor, and at best merely changing from one group of symptoms to another. Far too often, the doctor shares the patient's unshakable belief in poor health and disease. Not only this, but the medical profession often provides blueprints for diseases, and the patient too often tries them on for size. This is not to say that the medical profession often is not of great aid and benefit, but within the value system in which it operates, much of its positive influence is negated. Because they are held in such high esteem, the suggestions given by doctors are paid particular attention. The patient's emotional condition is such that he or she readily accepts statements made under such circumstances less critically than usual.